Well, we got the PVA dried. This is like version number 2. So basically, the first stream was on the OBS. This is on a cell phone. Now the problem is streaming on the cell phone is I can't really see the comments on the back of my phone when I'm around when I'm around the front of it doing the stuff. So if you tune in, keep that in mind. So anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm going to mix up some surface coat and get this thing boxed up and start making the next part of this mold. So what I do at this point, I'm going to get this plastic, I'm going to clamp the sides on it, and we're going to actually mix up some surface coat, and this will be the first part of the mold right here. So I like to use these big clamps. These clamps, they're heavy enough to where it holds everything in place. Now this plastic has been waxed. I've got 2 or 3 coats of wax on this plastic, and there's a little bit of haze on one side of this plastic, you know, where you can see where the epoxy was. So just be careful at this point, because you know you've got your PVA finish on your part. So these clamps are overkill, but the weight of the clamp is what I'm looking for. That allows, you know, the mold to stay put. So I'll clamp this thing probably about right in here. Try to keep it on the part. Let's see, I'll put that over there. That looks like a good spot. It doesn't take much, just finger tight on these clamps. I think I'm going to lay them flat. If you clamp too tight, then you'll distort everything. So I'm going to get 2 more clamps. I'm probably going to come down right in here and clamp that part. My first stream that I was doing earlier today, probably in the last 15-20 minutes, it was sort of cut short. Now, I didn't think I was going to get to this point as quick as I did, but I thought, what the heck, I'm at this point now, I might as well turn the camera on. So as you can see, it's a very delicate process. I mean, I didn't just finger tight these clamps, and the weight of these clamps will hold everything in place. So I still have enough clearance around here where I can actually get my acid brush to it. Let's see, now let's come over here. Got my scale set up. Now what I'm going to do with a surface coat on this part, it's a 302. So HSC 302X and then the 302 hardener. And basically this is a aluminum filled product that allows you a really fine finish. I mean, you can wet sand it and buff it, and it's high temp. So hold that thought. Let me run over here and get a mixing stick. I'm not super prepared. These are just live videos, and they're not polished, they're not edited. So let me get a mixing stick, and we'll get some of this mixed up, and let's get some surface coat on this thing. Get some paper towel, get my cup. So this surface coat, I usually go with, I try to maintain an 1/8 of an inch or quarter. I don't go real thick, but 1/8 of an inch or quarter is usually plenty. The other thing a surface coat will allow you to do is get rid of print through. So if you're backing up a mold with fiberglass and it's pretty coarse, you know, an 1/8 of an inch or quarter on the surface coat will keep the fiberglass from printing through on the surface of your mold. So what I like to do is I got this metal bar. This was a scrap piece of metal. And this is my stirring paddle, and it's also my transfer paddle to get the resin into the cup. This stuff is so thick, you really can't pour it at the quantity we're using. So I like to just dollop it in the cup. So I don't know if you can tell, but there's not really hardly any separation here. It looks really good. Now, it might be a little shiny on top where some of the resin's separated from the solids, but the 302, it stays pretty suspended. So when I'm running this paddle around here stirring, I don't find any solids at the bottom, but I still stir it up. And you'll see me do this. You're going to notice I'm going to do a two-step cup. So I'm going to mix in one cup and try to get it as mixed as I can. Then I'm going to transfer it to a second cup and keep stirring it. Now this stuff here, it's mixed by weight. It's 12% per hundredweight. So usually these cups, if I remember right, it's like 7.5 grams. These cups, 7.8, I think. Okay, 7.8 grams. So the obvious thing to do is put a 100-gram mix in here. Let's see if we can get a 100-gram mix in this cup. So that'll make our math super simple. We get 100 grams in this cup, then all we have to worry about is 12 grams of 302 curing agent. So try to keep my gloves clean. So it's 7.8, so basically we need 107.8. So we'll move this to 100 and see if I can get close to we might even do 200 grams. I'm not really sure. This stuff's pretty heavy. I usually eyeball it, okay? So each one of these molds, you know, is configured a little different. And I've done enough of it where I can sort of look at it, eyeball how much I need. And if you get a little extra, you just brush more of the mold. See, we're not at 100. I wonder if we're even close to 50. 50 grams. It might be a, no, I better go more than 50. I better see if I can get the 100 in here. After all, when I transfer it to the second cup, we're probably going to lose a little bit of it. Okay, we passed 100. So let's pull some out. Got lucky there. Okay, so we got 100 grams in this cup. Now we're going to put 12 grams of curing agent on top of it. And the main thing is, when you put this surface coat in, you don't have to coat everything here. All you got to do is coat the surface of where the part is going to be laid up. So that's the main thing. And I try to keep it clean as I go, otherwise it's like fifth wheel grease. I'll be wearing this stuff behind my ears. And I'm going to go over there and I got to rig up an epoxy brush. So the epoxy brush, I'm going to clean it, and I'm also going to make sure that I get a stick on it. I need an extension to get down in them holes. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here with the extension. I just stick this carbon rod down in there. That allows me to get down in there. So what I'm doing here is cleaning the brush with a little acetone. Get a close up here. Get my phone position. That's what happens when the phone falls over. The hazards of live streaming. So I got 100 grams in the cup, now I got to add 12, get some curing agent in here. So let's see. 107.8 plus 12. $119.8. 7.8, 12. 19.8. Try not to overshoot this. I intentionally make these holes in these cans small so I can meter it out a little bit. So I overshot a little bit. Let's see how much I overshot it. I overshot it by a half gram or so, and it's close enough. I think we'll be all right. If it's a half gram over, it'll probably be all right because I'll be scraping the cup anyway. So hopefully I don't knock my gimbal over. So I try to scrape off the stuff on the side of the cup. Get it down in the cup. Out of all the epoxy I make, the surface coat is probably the hardest to gauge as far as how well you mix it. There's no color disparity. It all blends in. I sort of can tell by the viscosity how slick it gets, the way it feels. So I continuously scrape. And the screwdriver, which is dull, it's rounded off at the end, is constantly in contact with the cup. So usually, if you pull this resin out of this cup after it's cured, usually the part of the resin that's not cured, if you do a little constructive, what I want to say, research after the mix, the part of the epoxy that's not mixed will be down in the corners. And that's the same thing with the expanding foam. You'll see the mushroom and everything down at the bottom of the cup. Usually in the center there's an area where it didn't get mixed. So right now I'm pretty sure I've got a really good mix. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to clean the screwdriver or mixing stick, and I'm going to transfer this into another cup. And I'll use my paddle here that I used to initially mix it. And I'll get it out of here. And you can scrape the side of the cups. So usually the mistake is when people try to transfer this to their mold, they transfer the scrapings, and the scrapings, it's where the resin isn't fully mixed. So now I got rid of all the stuff on the side of that cup. I'll go through this cup and I'll do one quick mix, because I know this cup was clean. And with the 302, you really don't have a whole lot of time. When I do a bigger mold, sometimes I'm almost just pouring it in there to get it out of the cup quick. Now, what I like to do is I'll take this acid brush and I go in the corners first. Any place it's got the a sharp corner, and I'll try to brush this in thin enough to where the air bubbles will escape. Don't worry about drizzling it down the side. Try to get it out of the cup as quick as you can, and work it down into those sharp corners, and of course obviously over the top of the mold too. Yeah, you got to work fast at this point. So I'm smearing this up and down the sides. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you get this stuff down in the corners. That's where the clay meets the parting board. Don't worry about getting it on the clamps. You can go back after the fact and clean that up. See if I get a better shot of what we're doing here. And I like to come up the corners of this plastic box. That allows the box to be sealed, so when I do a pour for the casting, I don't have to worry about it leaking out. This stuff has sort of like an air release. It sort of has a slimy consistency. It sort of has something in it to where the air likes to escape out of it. So if you're watching this live, you're looking at about the time that I've started this, mixing it to now, it's getting really thick. And it's getting so thick that it's probably becoming harder to spread and harder to get without air bubbles, which I'm at the point now where I don't have to worry about the air bubbles. I'm far enough away from the surface. As soon as you get it in here, you get it away from the mass of the cup, and the curing rate slows down. If I'd have left it in the cup, you get into the exotherm. So don't worry about coming up the sides of the plastic. You don't have to worry about that. Just make sure the part's covered, and then make sure the seams from the plastic and your parting board are covered. Other than that, you're good. But this stuff's thixotropic enough that you don't have to really worry about it seeping out. If you do have small little cracks around the plastic and the parting board, it might seep out a little bit, but it won't run out. This stuff is thick enough to where it'll clog that gap and you'll be good. And back here at the plate, I'll make sure I dab a nice thick layer on that part. And let's say that, you pull this thing out of the mold, you're all finished, and you look at it, and you're inspecting the surface coat, and you see like a little air bubble right there at the corner, where the clay met the parting board. Don't get all excited about it. Just mix up another batch of this stuff, like a 10-gram batch, and just taking a little X-Acto and just daub a little bit in the hole, like sort of like you're filling a cavity, just enough to fill it, and then give it a little sand and buff, and you can't even tell it's been filled. So it's not unheard of to go back and touch up, the mold surface. If you have to touch up some little little teeny bubbles. As I'm sort of delicately brushing this stuff around, I can see some air bubbles pop up, you know, and I just sort of smooth them out. And that's about as good as it's going to get. See if I can give you a better view without knocking this thing over. As you can see, it's all over the sides, but that's about all there is to it. There's your surface coat. There's your hardener. So this will have a casting port in it. Once this surface coat sets up, probably later tonight, I'll actually pour the top part of this mold to cast. Now let's say that you just put this surface coat on a plug and you wanted to make a conventional mold with fiberglass, you could do that. So you can cast over the top of this surface coat, or you can actually lay up fiberglass. But that's all I wanted to cover. I just wanted to go over getting that surface coat in there. The first video I made earlier today basically covered claying this thing up, and the camera cut off and it didn't show the PVA, but basically it shows me claying it up. Between that video and this video, PVA was sprayed, and that was left out of the mix. Another thing that was left out of the mix was this little sample piece. For some reason I keep getting the videos cut off to where this little sample piece I did is limited. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So let me get this turned around here. So what you're looking at here, it's about a 1.2 ounce glass cloth, okay, top and bottom. So I put Free Coat 700 NC on plate glass as a release agent. Probably 2 or 3 coats. I think it's 3 coats. I had a sealer and 2 coats of 700 NC. So what I did is I take HTR 250 and 386-99, which gave me a longer open time, and I just wet this glass cloth out on the plate glass. So I had 2 pieces of plate glass with glass cloth that's cured. I let this cure. I put it in the oven and post cured it. Got up to 175, so this resin's good and cured. So then I put these balsa spacers on top of this plate glass on the fiberglass, and basically I poured expanding foam, 2 pounds per cubic foot, right on top of this cured glass cloth on these glass plates. Okay, so this is the expanding foam, 2 pounds per cubic foot. They were using this in a race shop to fill up the carbon fiber steering wheel. That's what they were using it for. So I mix up 4 ounces of that expanding foam, pour it on the plate glass, which already has the fiberglass cured on it. And I pour a glob about this big, probably 2 ounces. And I lay the other plate glass on top of it with this fiberglass on it, cured. So what happens is this foam expands, spreads out underneath this plate glass. It's it's 100% adhesion. Okay, so when this stuff expands, there's no vacuum bag, there's no peel ply, there's no consumables, no vacuum pump. Basically, it's a male and female mold with a gap between it, and when they come together, there's a perimeter around. When they come together, it allows the foam to escape. You got to have room for the foam to escape. So it expands, it sticks to the glass cloth, and it escapes out the edge, which I've already cut it. You can see here where I didn't cut it, but basically I trimmed it up. And it I checked it out. It's between 12 and 13 pounds per cubic foot, an 1/8 inch thick, and that's with the heavy glass. So you go to 3/4 ounce glass cloth and stick with the 2 pounds per cubic foot foam. Instead of going an 1/8 inch thick, you drop it down to 1/16 or 3/32. This is really too thick for the stuff we fly, which probably gets it around to 11 or 12. But that gives you a part that's rigid, it's light. Now I've destruction tested this, but it's got the properties I want. But then you don't have to worry about building up a finish. You know, you can go through there and wet sand and put some color on it, but basically you don't have to add a finish to it. So this is your structure and your finish all in one. Let's just say, excuse me, let's just say up around the nose you need more than one layer of glass. Well, you could lay some carbon in there, or you could lay an extra layer of glass, and then of course the foam wouldn't be as thick, but you'd have more glass or carbon. Let's say you had a certain area of your layup that you needed like a former or something. Well, you could take carbon toe and lay it up on the glass, okay, when you lay this up on the mold, and that'll add some rigidity in certain areas. So there's a lot of variables, but the adhesion is perfect. The surface is only going to be as good as your mold, so that'll be important. The crush resistance, the dentability is what worries me. I can stick my finger and make a dent, but I can go over there to the 4-pound balsa wood and do the same thing. So going forward, I might experiment with some other foams. Maybe instead of 2 pounds per cubic foot, try to find something maybe 4. And instead of a urethane foam, I might experiment with an epoxy foam. So that's about all I got to say about that. But that was some of the stuff that was cut out on the last video that I talked about. So now let's see, in real time, let's see what we're looking at here. So I'm still able to brush this. It's a little bit thicker, and it's getting there, but it's not as warm out here in the shop today. It's probably in the 70s. But that's about all I wanted to cover. I just wanted to do the second video real quick and go over this surface coat, and then the next video I'll actually come back, we'll do the casting. Hey, thanks for coming by. I enjoyed making the video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it.